Community education is very much a bottom-up approach and working in consultation with the participants, where we're working in partnership and we get to negotiate what the project is, and the same when the tutor meets the group. They don't come with a fixed content, they negotiate the content. Like all good projects, it was an idea that came about at a planning session that we had. And I suppose up to this, any community art project would have been usually 8 or 9 weeks, and we would have encouraged, as I mentioned there, that as well as the individual skills, people would undertake a collaborative project, and that would maybe link into the local community. So
this is Anya, and she's in just the ceramics.
This is Phil from Selbridge, and she's here with this group. It's called Sharing Skills.
Creativity in the community.
This time we decided to, take the chance to offer a longer piece of work. So we asked people to commit for 15 weeks. And I suppose that would give time to really explore the creative process, so that people would learn the individual skills and then have a chance to develop those within a theme. Because of the year it is 2016, we decided to link it in with the centenary of 1916, looking at how local people might remember the events of that time in their own local area. And then the rebellion, looking at, how are we as groups or as individuals oppressed today, and how can we stand up for ourselves and take action, and also how do they start to work for change for things that they're not happy about in their local community.
I was amazed at how well people wanted to talk about their project. That was very evident, how articulate people were about how involved they were with their project.
When I started work, initially there was about 40 groups on our books, and now there's more than 140. Each year we would have maybe 60 to 80 pieces of work that we would undertake with different groups. A few years ago we took the decision that the art area in general, that we would try and move towards a community art perspective. I suppose it's a very gentle, engaging entry point to community development.
When I was at school, we hated history, and it was very traumatising for a young kid to learn about all of that. It was just dates and times, but it's so exciting now because we're learning about the real history and the real people. Like, I have great admiration for the heroes of 1916, but an awful lot went on behind the scenes where real lives were affected. So we're concentrating on people in Selbridge. So we're going to create a scenario where the cook is baking a loaf of bread and she puts a message in for her son, and we're going to create our own newspaper with some original photographs and some of our own that we've recreated, but we dated to make them look like.
When will we find out if we can use St. Jonathan's?
All the letters, because somebody's going to be burnt out.
Big basket.
That's the type of basket we used to use in those days.
Use it, and today.
We could break down what she's going to be doing, because we're going to have to get her to play that role.
And it has to be round because of the big bakers.
Yes.
So that's the shot with the cook and the bread and the letter and the going. So that's quite a big chunk of the story, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I think what we should do now then is write down the cook story as we do it, and use that as our centrepiece.
So we're doing all the background stuff like that, stuff that hasn't been put in the history books, that would make it so interesting, rather than history. Because everyone knows what happened in 1916 by the history books. But we want to concentrate on what was happening in the background behind it all,
We would have been happy if 4 or 5 groups signed up to do this piece of work, but as it happened, 9 signed up, which was fantastic, and there's really a great sense of enthusiasm and people willing to take on the challenge and the risk and all that brought. Community education and community art, by its definition, are focused on both the process and the journey that happens during the class and during the work, as well as the product at the end result. So it's not the one is more important than the other, that both are really important. We decided also to link it in with the Adult Learner Festival, which is a national week-long event that happens at the end of February each year, and we, for the last number of years, have been undertaking a showcasing event, I suppose, to promote the fantastic work that happens around the county of Kildare.
Can you see a name on that? Who wants that place?
Who wants Jimmy Grace?
Oh yeah, well that's mine. Has everyone
everyone got a plate?
So do we wash them now?
Is that yours, really?
No, that's not mine.
I think now.
This is in memory of the 1916 Rising.
Jesus, what do I know about it? I only know it in my own life. I'll tell you how I know. Because I was made to write my lines one day. Men will come and men will go, but I go on forever. I had to write that 100 times.
I mean, everybody knows the 7 signatories. There are a lot of other people that took part in the Rising. We're doing plates and we're going to glaze them and put their names of the people that took part in it.
Eamon O'Moore, my late father-in-law's name, because you must remember he was also a founder member of the Gaelic League in Kildare. So the language movement and the political movement went kind of...
If you see the colour you like, you check on the recipe which number of the glaze was used for that.
We enjoy the morning here. We'll have a cup of tea and a chat. It gives us a bit of interest, and as well as that, you get to meet people.
We're after coming up and learning a lot. Every day we wake up, we learn something new from somebody or other, like, you know.
And the facilities here are absolutely brilliant. Thanks to the army, like, you know.
At the end of the day, the results then you had were just, you're so proud of yourself. And obviously the cup of tea and the banter and the chat, it's all part and parcel as well, like.
For me, community education is all about change. And, you know, it's changing the person, and then change in that person and that group, and maybe if they experience enough and really engage with it, then it's changing their place, changing their community, and change their world.
We didn't realise how many crafts we had between us, and we bet around several ideas and eventually came up with doing, as it's a women's group, we did women's fashions for the last 100 years based on 1916.
This pattern itself, I found it online. It was 1915s, so I printed out the picture, right, and I enlarged it, so I did, and I done my own interpretation. You would wear it like this, and you just put the pin here, and it hangs down from that. Probably would have took me about 2 weeks, but because I'm in college as well at the moment, it took me near enough to a month.
What we're going to do is we're going to make a collage onto this canvas of the pictures of the Rising in 1916, and then what we're going to do is the coffee and the PVA glue makes them look old because we will tear them. A verse on the very end from a song called Written in Scars by Joe Savarati. And also I'm putting the names of the 38 children that died in the Rising.
Most people come here to get away from the house, get away from children, a night of relaxation, and I keep them laughing, you know, because there's no worries here. You know, there's nothing to worry about once you walk in that door. Everything is left behind.
I suppose in the kind of current situation where people are, you know, trying to update their qualifications and that really the whole idea of creativity is really important, where people learn how to problem solve, and you know, it's very important as well for entrepreneurship skills, that people have a chance to develop a theme, and you know, many obstacles come up in that creative process, and that's a learning for people, I suppose, for the creative process itself, but also for how they deal with problems in their own lives. I know one tutor in particular, Beth, who is doing the basket weaving, you know, it's quite a difficult, challenging medium, and she would always say that, you know, there's always a point that people think, oh, I'm going to give up, and how people work through that point. And I suppose that's a really a good learning that people can take away to transfer to other parts of their lives.
From the beginning, everybody, I suppose, was on a journey, and that's the journey that we took through art, using our skills and through education. Really, the funding for the project came from us through community education, which was huge to bring us all together. This came about from a story shared.
We just said that we're all from army wives, and about the boots and about polishing, and you never had a pair of tights. And
the work that went into preparing for any parades or anything that we did.
So using the willow in some way, and the newly learnt skill, we thought that we could frame it in different ways. We came here, with a skill of basket weaving and material of willow, but really we got so much more as a group. You know, I got so much more as a tutor.
Even just the interaction with the other people and getting everyone's ideas, and they all coming together into one. Like
when we started here, to think that we're at this stage now is amazing.
Billy just completed his basket this morning, and he loves weaving. don't you, Billy?
Yeah.
Time spent on the arts is really time well spent, and really skills and knowledge that is needed for the time that we live in.
We decided to work with porcelain clay, and we're making very delicate porcelain relief panels. The theme of our project was we were really looking at the everyday people, capturing memories through art and recording these onto the porcelain clay.
He was a chemist in Cork, and he had numerous, but 6 maybe different ads advertising the same product. It's an ad from the Leinster Leader on Saturday, April 1st, 1916. Basically thought I would just do the image, not have the complete ad, because it's just way too much lettering and writing and all of.
The memories I have, I have vivid memories of walking down O'Connell Street and looking at everything was huge and green. And I think that's what drew me to this illustration, which I found in the library, in one of the books. I was drawn to this image, and this is what I'm doing here now in the porcelain, trying to walk away. It's all a new project for me to do, but I'm enjoying it.
Each person has captured very important aspects of Ireland from 1916.
I've learned more about 1916 in this class alone than I did in school going back years ago, because it was kind of bet into us and we were like being force fed. I wasn't into history at all, and even the rebel songs we had to know them note by note. But this relaxed atmosphere is so different.
And would you all agree with that?
Yeah.
Would you say that that's true?
Yeah.
And they're creating a story, and it might be the story of their group, the story of their community, you know, significant figures from the past, but also social history. You know, the fact that there was Dublin was a different time zone in 1916. I mean, it's remarkable. And that sense of rediscovering themselves and the people who came before them and their place, and embracing that, and I think that's amazingly powerful.
The group came up with the idea of reflecting on how the centre came about and looking into the history of how it came about. They're very, very proud of their centre.
As a group then we all come up with the idea of the perspex and doing painting on that, and then it evolved from that then into doing a commemoration of the centre.
The idea that we have, it revolves around community and growth, you know, in our area. This one shows all the different activities that go on in the centre.
The centre was meeting over a cup of tea in 1990s. It ties in with evolving from 1916, kind of to reflect on the scene, because it's actually the scene out there.
We wanted to involve all our community and the Family Resource Centre and the lake area. We felt that it would bring a lot of colour into it as well.
The finished product is loosely based around that, because it's about rebellion and evolution and progress, and that's what the centre is here in the community, and this is what the painting represents.
For me, community education is the people. In the beginning, when we were here at least 10 years ago, it was all about going out and meeting the groups. They're so enthusiastic and they get the theme, whereas others may have not got the theme before that and went away a lot more positive, particularly the photographic groups that were started late. They were very nervous, but by the end of that I had met a few of them. They were very happy and were kind of quite focused on how they were going to finish the project.
We've done 2 courses already, Colour Me Beautiful, and we're about to start on a photography course.
So if we can gather that light with something like this lens here, now we can learn something from that immediately that will come for you when you're doing photography, is to make sure that the image that you record is pin sharp. Sharply, we're halfway there.
Isn't it cute, darling?
Initially, when we started to work with the groups, we were struck by
the way that the members wanted to celebrate 1916 by focusing on the patriots and on the soldiers and on the people who fought in the Rising. And they found their own stories and their own communities and their own personal experiences not worthy necessarily of inclusion in a project like this, and then they began to see the value in their own life and in their own work, and over time that's what the project became, a way of celebrating times when they were bold, when they rebelled, when they changed things, and their memories of their communities, how their communities were set up, how their organizations came into being, and it was really, really interesting to see that.
You know, I didn't realise an awful lot of stuff about 1916. You take it for granted and you just listen to it.
Our project is mixed media. We've worked with some felt, we've worked with some wool, and we've worked with some paper mache. People also used like personal images that they wanted to use, and then what we're going to do is we're going to transfer these images onto the outside of the peace lilies.
That's my mother.
Oh, that's your mother? Okay.
And that's my aunt.
And that's your aunt.
We were looking at the heroes of the 1916 Rising, and then the images were put on using carbon paper, acrylic paint and permanent marker. We have a poem that has been written by one of the members of the centre. We're going to do some kind of art piece that's going to be based around that.
All of our projects have been kind of male orientated here at the moment from 1916, so I said I'd have to bring a woman in here somewhere. A resemblance is the petticoat of the ladies that used to be around at that period of time.
And again and again and again and again did they beat the drum slowly, did they play the voice slowly, did they sound that march as they lowered you down, and did the band play the last post and chorus, and did the fight play the flowers of the forest.